This live chat is for Cyprian's book Laverna.
Yes, Liber Laverna, a book about the ancient Etruscan and then Roman forgotten goddess of liars, conmen, outcasts, thieves, small businessmen, and anybody in exile. It is a book it's a small book, but it is a book I spent 7 years devotion in writing and published last year, and I'm trying to get traction with it because, especially in nowadays world, she's a very relevant deity. I hate how these are sitting right now. I don't even, cause it's saying this part's up too high.
Hmm. The pattern with deities that I've seen, like Hermes, Laverna, of course, and other things, is that's they're resurfacing specifically in communities that have experienced poverty and stuff. That's interesting, and poverty is highly increasing.
Yeah. And in a world where like more and more people are going below their means, I feel like a goddess who's like, I understand that sometimes you have to steal to survive is very, very important.
Radical, even.
And I'm going to be honest, she works fast. I know everyone's like, my magic is the best magic, raw, but like, you can read it in the foreword. My editor, um, first turned down the project, almost like Cyprian's kind of dumb. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then they're like, well, actually, I've been having this extra entity in my space lately, some sort of chthonic, and it's like, oh, well, maybe it's Laverna. It's like, all right. Went to start working on editing this with me, and within a week made like $2,000 off selling something. I think it was some piece of magic tech they made. And so like within weeks, I got Crow, Crow, Merritt. I got her to she wrote a prayer for the beginning of the book, and I got her to also look over Leland's terrible Italian translation. So she got involved working on the book. And then a couple days after we cracked the code of what Leland couldn't figure out, which is cool, 100-year-old mystery we solved. Um, she was doing her laundry and just randomly found $100 like in the pockets of pants that shouldn't have had it in there. The cover artist who did such amazing
Oh, that wasn't you?
work on no, that was LD did amazing work on the cover, and the that centerpiece picture like blew my mind. I know you've got
Speaking,
a copy, you've seen it.
ah, I'm sad to say, but I do not have my copy yet.
You haven't you haven't been able to get it yet?
I
Yeah, I didn't know if it was Amazon messing up.
Yeah, it's life's been fucking chaotic
Oh,
today.
absolutely.
Yeah, I just
This
fucking
this copy for some reason. Here we go. I was like, I cannot find the just blew me away when he's like, "This is what I got from you." And I'm like,
whoa.
I could not have asked for a better center. He's like, she demands this is in the center splash. I'm like, all day.
That is
You
fucking.
can't get better than that. And so he fell on the money. Basically everybody who's put their finger in the project fell into some kind of windfall. The person who wrote the foreword, um, they got good work shortly after doing the forward and got solidified. I think that like even their housing got very solidified for a while. So like though, and then Jaquel did a bought the book and was going to do a review of it, and did the review or had recorded the review. It didn't work, and like there had been a couple things with their uploading of the review. But then they were at the local metaphysical shop, which also sells my book, which was a crazy connection to make. Um, but found a statue that just screamed Laverna. It was like black cloaked figure, hood over it, hands held out. But when you looked at the statue, it didn't have a face at all, hearkening to the Laverna myth. And so they're like, I can't get this, but if I ever get an opportunity to, I need to grab this for Laverna. And then what ends up happening is like 2 days later, somebody buys a tarot reading off them, just enough money to get the statue. So they end up with the statue and put the review out, and like they get a couple windfalls and synchronicities. And so everybody who sat down and been like, I'm going to do the Laverna thing, so far everybody's had some sort of like a coin has been lifted here, a greasy wheel. We've kind of greased a wheel here. A pocket's been opened. Oh, this door got left open. You can walk into that area. Like consistently, those who have fucked with this project. Can I say that on? Oh, those who have fucked with this project have received like in return. Like Laverna is here waiting for people. Like, hey, do the thing. And like for years, I've been trying to point different occultists to Laverna. Like anyone, it's like tarot business not doing good. Da da da. It's like here's Laverna. This is a thing. This is what I have on it. This was years before I even had the book. The book was a paragraph at the time. But I'd be like, hey, and then they come back. We say they're like, my business is booming. What the fuck? I'm like, money now, please, money, please now. I help. They're like, yeah, no, we'll throw you something. Go get a pizza tonight. I'm like, fuck yeah, okay. Laverna take care of me. I take care of other people. Laverna take care of those people, and then those people take care. Okay, we got like a whole system. So for years, I've been telling like small businesses that fuck with magic, like involve Laverna in your work and see like I can say it. Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Like people really sit on the liars, thieves, conmen side, but she also protected and represented small businesses. Who is Laverna? That's the goddess we're talking about. She was an Etruscan deity that was adopted into the Roman pantheon. She became the goddess of liars, outcasts, conmen, thieves, small businessmen, those exiled and not allowed by the Roman state. That those people fell under her purview. She had an altar near the Aventine Hill. In fact, one of the gates of Rome is actually named after her, the Porta Lavernalis. We have wrote that exists. We can't find it anymore. My editor went and fucked off to Rome, and I was like, "Can you get a picture of this?" They're like, "It's a single like rubble thing." But outside of it, it's by the Via Solara. There on Aventine Hill, she used to have an altar, and it was in this very shaded grove, like right outside of it. And that was important because, like, it was a place where thieves could, like, hide out, not be seen, could waylay unsuspecting merchants from this shaded grove because it's right on the main road, the main port to town. But also the Aventine Hill, if you know your Roman history, is also tied to the peasant rebellion or the peasant revolt. So that was a whole situation that, like, this is also in Laverna's purview. I can't remember the exact year. Of the peasant revolt, but it very much was like this took place as so this was this okay, that's right. This was much further on in the future. So after Rome, Laverna still hung out in Aventine Hill because in the summer of 1924, what happened is a bunch of members of parliament, I think about 120 politicians, they fully abandoned parliament, the Italian parliament, to protest election rigging, fascist rigging, and Mussolini's cover up of his role in the murder of Giacomo Matteotti, who was a socialist party leader and also member of parliament. Mussolini murdered him and covered it up. So instead of attending parliament, they walked out and met on Aventine Hill, which would have been right where Laverna had her only known altar. There was also, that was like, it's the Aventine secession, um, where there's also it would have been in the 2nd century BCE. The Roman plebeians were led by, it was Gaius Gracchus, who held their last stand on Aventine Hill, in their fight to like restore Rome. Like there's a big revolt in the 2nd century of the common folk of Rome, and they took a last stand at Aventine Hill. And then fast forward to 1924 and the Aventine secession, where these people left Parliament to oppose Mussolini. They're like, instead, we're all going to meet at Aventine Hill and wait to see what happens. Like almost daring, like, we can do this revolt again. This is the same battlefield. And so that area is like historically tied to going against systems of oppression, being a place for the plebeian, for the common folk, who have boots on their neck. And so Aventine Hill and Laverna are like, this is the energy we just hold. And working with her is very much that too. Sorry, that was a whole rant.
That is what we are here for. Speaking speaking of my magic is better than your magic, your god is better than my god. Um, I believe I saw a conversation about you developing a whole divination system for Laverna. Do you mind giving a teaser on that?
Yes, so the idea is that within the book, within Liber Laverna, there is a section called the 30 Coins of Laverna. And what that is about is like there's 30 aphorisms to live by, um, to walking this path of like the sacred thief. Um, and I had been talking with my editor while we were going through it, and they were like, "Oh, this would make amazing bibliomancy." And when I headed out to that festival this summer, last summer, we tried it. We had people show up. Like, we're like, "Hey, you want to buy? You can buy the book, but even if not, we're going to give a free bibliomancy reading. Open this book up and like see, because they're not only in the coins, but in so much else. I wrote and was directed to write. There's a lot there. So you have like, let me just pick one here. The 23rd coin. That which is concealed is not always hidden. And so the idea with the geomancy, or with the divination here, is going to kind of be geomancy, where Laughing Dog eventually, he's has so much going on, has images associated with each coin. We're going to have 30 coin, there's 30 coins, there's 30 pictures. Um, these are to be carved into wood, or specifically, yeah, carved into wood is what Laughing Dog was directed. Laughing Dog channels a lot, like authentic. When he says that a spirit told him to do something, you can back it and like put your seal on that. But these are to be put on like either the pages tore out of the book, which means you got to buy another book, little right there, or like wooden discs where you put these in and you'll toss them. And we've developed a divination system along with a table of correspondences with with Laverna. And so depending on like each coin, whether it lies up, if it lies up, it's, this is the message that needs to be addressed. And if the coin lies down, then this is a message, or this is a lesson that is being hidden from you. And it harkens a lot to like the Golden Dawn style of geomancy. But essentially, you have multiple ways we can do this because I talk about the six archetypes. And so like you have these six archetypal coins that'll be tossed. If you're on the mark side of the trickster, um, essentially we're talking about what is needed right now is cunning, opportunity, quick thinking, and using humor as a tool. If it's on the blank side, then we're looking at you need deception. There is misuse of cleverness going on. You've missed some opportunities. You lost your chance to do the trickster thing here. And what like the trickster commands us to use wit and our own force of gab to seize opportunities. And so when that shows up, that means something. We have a consecration of these coins. And then, you're gonna sit in silence to begin with, no distractions, no chit chat, anything. Um, Give it like 5 or 10 minutes. You'll light a candle. There'll be a cup that has the pouch containing the coins. There's a prayer to Laverna, and then the coins are tossed on a mat, and then there's interpretation that follows. And we have basically two divinations, one where we can toss and look at the six archetypes that are at play here, or we can toss and look at the 30 coins and be like, what is the actionable thing that needs to be done right now? So that's something we're working on. I sent that to my editor, and it was the biggest fucking headache because they're like, "Can you create a divination system for Laverna?" I'm like, "I could tap in. I can do this. I can use, the knowledge I have." And I sent just a 15-page random Google Doc, no formatting, no spacing, like no real uh, made sense section breaks. There were paragraph breaks, but like wasn't breaking anything. And they ended up they looked at they're like, Cyprian, this is four different divination systems you gave me that you've combined into a Frankenstein divin. I'm like, I don't know. You said you wanted geomancy. Here it is. This is what I know. This is what I can do. Like, go to the editor, figure it out at this point. It's let the artist art.
Is
They're
the
like, no, we gotta. Hmm?
is the editor Fry?
Autumnal.
Autumnal. I'm pretty sure you've had this conversation with Fry before.
No, Freud hasn't really looked at the much of the Laverna stuff, I think, actually.
Let's see. So this geomancy system isn't quite in the book yet, but it's going to be a separate book.
It is going to be a separate book because we also have a table of correspondences. Like we've sat here and been like, okay, what herbs, what this? Like we were trying to figure out animals associated with her because we don't have any of this. We have what I've experienced, what I've communed with her, and then the one story that Leland records in Aradia. So we don't have all this stuff. And like we came across a real big issue because she is a chthonic deity. So we need chthonic correspondences. However, Hecate's got them all. Hecate and Persephone, they just have them all. It's like, what's left? And so it was a very difficult time trying to find these correspondences. Um, and then it was also like, for the animals, it's like I could see this was a chthonic animal that represents Laverna, except it didn't live in Rome. And so we did end up settling on like the perfect bird. We didn't really realize it at the time. Look at that cat. Um, we didn't really realize it at the time, but me going back months later and talking to someone about this, we're just like, yeah, the hoopoo bird. That's a bird. It's chthonic. No one has it. Cool. But then when I was explaining it a month or so ago to somebody, I pulled up a picture of the hoopoo bird, and I'm like, holy fuck! If you look at this thing, its head is a completely different design from its body. It was interesting listening. All right. Wednesday, have a wonderful night. When you wake up, buy the book. Support a small author.
Yes, please
But
do.
the
Book. I haven't read it yet, but it's very good.
the hoopoo bird has like an orange crowned head and chest, and then it goes to like a black and white striped body. And I'm like, so Laverna appears either as a body without a head or a head without a body, according to the myth. So this bird being two separate designs, like two separate things on the body, was actually a perfect fit, and we didn't realize it. And it got a weird, silly beak, so that's always a plus.
We're gonna
Um,
find that it was actually Laverna's sacred animal later on in archaeology.
yeah, yeah. Archaeology's gonna back this in like 30 years. I'll be like, I told y'all. I don't know what y'all were talking about. Y'all thought I was crazy.
To be fair, though, multiple gods have the same sacred animal. Like,
This is true, but really something that I try to avoid when talking about Laverna is like, okay, we're talking about a feminine, chthonic deity of outcasts. And everyone, you say that phrase, and people are just going to be like, oh, Hecate. I'm like, she's not. She's not. She's not. She's not. This is different. There can be more chthonic, female, dark feminine deities. This is not an aspect of Hecate. It's very different. Because I've had people be like, "Are you just talking about Hecate?" I'm like, no, no. Hecate, great, wonderful, love Hecate, work with her a lot. Not Laverna though. This is not like an epithet. This is a whole different deity.
yeah, the not to roller coaster our conversation outside of Laverna, but yeah, the dark goddess archetype thing is so fucking.
Oh, I can't stand it.
Yeah, it's one of the main things that I hate with the new age, because the appropriation of Amakara was already bad enough as is with the left hand path. Now we have this everything is Kali now. Like, no.
Yeah, yeah, we don't do all that.
Yeah. But anyways, well, what would you say was your favorite part of writing this book?
Um, so writing this book was really interesting, and I'm trying to decide what I should and shouldn't say, and I can feel the like pressure on the shoulder. Like, yes, I know uh
You
you
can
can't
be
give a I know, Laverna, I know you gotta watch what's said. Like I get it, I know. What's said is less important than what's not said. But at the same time, the story is very interesting. So,
hello PV.
hey PV, welcome.
I'd prefer some PvP myself.
I was in a situation 8 years ago or so. I was really having like a dark night of the soul type moment, and there was a lot that was weighing on me that like I had bound myself in. And I've been working with Laverna for years before this. Oh God, my hair is a mess. This is why I don't get on camera. By the time it's this time of night, my hair is destroyed. Um, but what ended up happening was I sat there and I was like, all right, look, Laverna, you're the only other option here. Like I need to get out. These oaths I've taken, these things I've bound myself up in, like this is all too much, and they're not like easily broken. I can't just, swear off. I can't like cry off my mission on some of these. They're deeper than that. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to ask in return for this, but and she's like, I can show you how to break these chains. Do it. There goes my headset dying. Hopefully you can still hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Now it's just on the phone. Hopefully it's not gonna like echo it. But she was like, I can show you how to break these. I can let you physically physically see the chains that are binding you, and you can strike at them and break them. I'm like, okay. She's like, but you will write my story. You will write down what I tell you to write down. I will be spread. This is my deal. And this is not an oath. What I teach you will not apply to me. I created it. I know how to stop someone from breaking an oath. I'm like, all right, cool, fine by me. Let's go. Let's do it. And so I had a very intense time. And I sat down and I wrote the first paragraph of this book. This book should not exist. Da 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 da. And I left it for like 6 years. I didn't touch the book. I didn't know where to go with it. It was like, what do I say? What do I don't say? What is she going to allow me to say? What does she want me to say? And then I was involved. I got re-involved with a couple organizations. I don't want to name names because it's yeah. Um, but I was talking about Laverna a lot there. And so like it was actively on my mind again because these a lot of the people in this group were people I had previously talked to about Laverna. And what ended up happening was it was on my mind a lot. Um, I ended up getting a couple more sentences out. Um, and then there were things that occurred in my life where SI started occurring. And I was like hopeless, despondent, like, all right, we're checking. We knew we were going to check out early one day. Let's check out today. Got all prepped and then like grabbed by the shoulders, like, you have an oath to me. You don't know until this is done. You remember? I'm like, she's like, that problem, these problems, they don't matter. Go write. So I got up and wrote 50 pages in the next like 2 or 3 days. And then sent it to people like, hey, they're like, where have you been for like a week? For the last 3 days. Nobody's heard from you. You've not answered any phone calls. I'm like, well, I'm like, I'm not gonna tell you all everything. I'm just say I was writing. Here we go. They're like, the book? I'm like, yeah, it's like that. That's it. And so that was a very powerful moment. After that, I finished like trickling through and writing the rest of the book, and then me and my editor, God fucking love Autumnal for all the work they did. We had a 13-hour Discord call where we went line by line reading the book, making every change ready for publication. And we did that. And then I went to bed that night, and something overtook. I don't. It was partly anxiety because we were about to put the book out. Well, no, we hadn't done the 13-hour call yet. We had gone over and glossed over a lot of the book and got everything said, everything right, everything ready for publishing. And what ended up happening was like I was sitting there. It was a bit of anxiety that night. It was a bit of like this is finally done, and then it was me thinking about what I wrote. And I talked to some people. Some people had seen the prior draft. It was very Llewellyn-like. It was very light and airy, and I was like, because of the some of the content in here, I had to be very careful how I talked. I did not want this to read like some sort of magical anarchist manifesto, right? We don't need a watch list on my first book. That's like fourth book era, right? So like I was very light with things. Yeah, it's like we don't do that on the first book. We do that after a little while. Um, but I was like, I had a moment where I'm like, I've sat here I've wrote like 50-page book about Laverna, about goddesses. values, the importance of sacred theft, and how you prevent, your power and your voice being stolen from you by a systemic everything. Theft. I stole my own voice in this book. This book is not wrote how I would have wrote it. This is wrote so that it's light and airy. Like, I let my voice be stolen here while writing about the goddess of thieves. This is not me living my truth, living my life in my writing. So I stayed up all night, and this is the the day before we had finally finished the editing on the book, mind you. And so that night I stayed up until 7 in the morning rewriting the entire book. Completely new tone. Messaged my editor like autumnal. You're going to hate what I have to say, but my voice was stolen. They're like, Cyprian, what the fuck does that mean? I'm like, in the book, my voice, it was stolen. I stole it back. What does this mean? I rewrote the whole thing. And then we sat there and we had a 13-hour Discord call where it's like line by line, word by word. We're doing this right now, fixing it in real time. And I think for me that night when I rewrote the whole thing, when I said like, this is my voice and I am living my life in such a way it cannot be stolen. And that includes writing this book. If it ends up being some sort of way for people, then it ends up being some sort of way for people. But I've never softened myself for anyone. Why did I do it now? And I'm like, no, this book is me. This is my voice. This is my tone. This is my, everything here. I'm pouring it back in the book. And so that night of really rewriting it, and when you get to it, like, there's a lot more that I add. Like, I added a whole new section called the theology of theft that wasn't in there before, and that word, the way I changed the wording, things hit a really, I guess, clear, but a more harsh, more like pointed tone. Like, no, hey, this is it. And that was probably my favorite moment there was when I was like, hey, Cyprian, what's the thing you try to teach everyone? They have teeth and can bite. Why'd you put yours away? Bite. This is your book. And I did. I was like, nope, whole thing, doom. And it is more raw, and I do stand by it. And it's not caused a problem so far. I mean, other than like, oh, it's very hard to sell or take seriously the man who wrote a book about the goddess of con men and liars. It's like that's hard to market. It's like my goddess is about lying for survival. I wrote a book. It is legit. And it's like, but your goddess is about what again? I'm like, look, I understand that, but. And so it sits in a weird, weird liminal spot. But yeah, the staying up all night over the summer and rewriting the book was probably my favorite moment of it of all. Because it was like, sit
Very
by.
like.
Uh-huh.
So, you just mentioned this theology of theft. You want to go into that more?
Yeah, I got the book right here. It was one of the last chapters. Like, this was something I added at the end, and it originally wasn't the end part. I had more stuff to say after, because I tend to ramble. But my editor was like, "No, this is the ending part." So I can read it here. It's only like 3 pages. The theology of theft. That's right. There's no lights in my house. This is the computer screen I have. I have poor overhead lighting. To steal is not merely to take, it is to reinterpret the moral map. Those who steal under the gaze of Laverna are not mere criminals, but theologians, meds, of imbalance, philosophers of lack, and midwives to hidden truths. In the world of sacred cunning, theft becomes a form of reordering. It's not greed that motivates, but disruption. It's not malice, but reclamation. In every civilization, the thief is reviled in the courts, yet romanticized in stories. There is a reason for this tension. Theft speaks of. I'm going to pull up the document. It's too dark to read from the book, but I keep the Laverna doc on hand. Let's see, I've got Liber Laverna Final Laverna manuscript, copy of Liber Laverna, Final Laverna manuscript final. That's the one I need. We went through a lot of changes. I my editor put their work. There's nothing more I can say about that. Yeah, this is a 97 page one. The theology of theft. To steal is not merely to take, it is to reinterpret the moral map. Those who steal under the gaze of Laverna are not mere criminals, but theologians of imbalance, philosophers of lack, and midwives to hidden truths. In the world of sacred cunning, theft becomes a form of reordering. It's not greed that motivates, but disruption. In every civilization, the thief is reviled in the courts, yet romanticized in stories. There is a reason for this tension. Theft speaks a language older than law. It predates contracts and outlasts empires. It answers to something buried beneath civilization, beneath hierarchy, even beneath religion. In Laverna's shadow, theft becomes not an act of selfishness, but one of divine intervention. Across ancient mythologies, sacred stories are not filled with obedient saints, but with liars, tricksters, and thieves. Creation itself, it seems, was often stolen. Prometheus took fire from the Olympians and gave it to mortals. For this he was bound, his liver eaten each day, but without his crime there would be no cities, no craft, no light. Hermes, on the very day of his birth, stole Apollo's cattle and lied about it. Not punished, he was rewarded and became the god of boundaries, commerce, and language. Inanna, in Sumerian myths, stole the sacred May, the divine attributes of power and civilization, from the god of wisdom, Enki. She did not ask, she drank, she took, and she left. Even in the Christian tradition, the thief makes an appearance beside Christ. One reviles him, the other is promised paradise. The text doesn't say which is which. Theft in these stories is not a moral failure. It's the mechanism through which divine disruption happens. A transfer of power from those who hoard it to those who would use it. In this sense, the thief is not a criminal, but an agent of balance. Laverna, rarely spoken of and never celebrated by Rome's ruling classes, stands among these figures. She is nocturnal, quiet, and deliberate. She does not strike with lightning or proclamation. She slips in through the cracks. Her altar is in the alley. Her temple is in the whisper. Her hymn is in the lock quietly turning. She teaches us, and this was such an important thing for me to put in here. She teaches us that justice is not always lawful, and the law is not always just. In Roman state religion, to pour a libation was to honor the gods, to show gratitude, to establish order, to demonstrate one's place in the cosmos. The right hand was used for this. It was the hand of correctness, visibility, piety. But to pour with the left, this was something else entirely. To pour with the left hand was the domain of chthonic powers, spirits of the underworld, of the dead, of the hidden. It was associated with funerary rites, curses, and the darker gods. Laverna accepts her offerings with the left hand because she does not ask for clean hands. She asks for honest ones. To pour with the left is to speak in the language of inversion, not religion for its own sake, but sacred misdirection, a reminder that there is wisdom in the crooked path. That truth sometimes wears a mask. Laverna's worship was never public. She had no grand temple on the Capitoline Hill. Her sacred grove lay beside the Via Salaria, where goods and wealth moved discreetly. Her altar on the Aventine Hill, an area long associated with the plebeian resistance, was hidden in plain sight, just as she is. Roman law treated theft not as mere property loss, but as a violation of personal relationship and status. The early 12 tables emphasized restitution, not punishment. But over time, jurists like Gaius and Ulpian classified furtum as a crime of disruption, disrupting the household, the contract, the flow of wealth. And so it is with Laverna, her association with false oaths, not as an insider of perjury, but as a witness to the corruption of legal language itself. She's not a goddess of lies. She is the goddess of the lie told to survive. The lie told because the truth would be punished. The lie told to unmake the chains of a false contract. To invoke Laverna when swearing falsely is not necessarily to blaspheme, but to call on a force older than the Empire, a kind of rough divine justice, not written in marble or codex, but on the soul of the desperate. She understands that justice is sometimes a theft, and not all oaths deserve to be kept. The thief wears a mask, not just to conceal their identity, but to unmake the world's demand for visibility. Laverna doesn't ask her followers to be known, but to be true. The modern world equates authenticity with exposure. Be seen, be known, be open, get likes, da 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 da. But Laverna laughs at this. She reminds us that what's sacred is often veiled. So the mask in her theology is not a lie. It's setting a boundary. It's a tool of autonomy. To conceal is not always to deceive. Sometimes it's to protect. Sometimes it's to hold something intact. The modern confessional impulses to bleed in public, to reveal one's soul for likes or leverage, is foreign to her. Laverna honors those who keep their power close, who reveal it with precision, who guard their soul as one guards a treasure not yet stolen. To mask yourself is not to be false, it's to choose your moment. Laverna's theology is alive today, not in temples or in priesthoods, but in action. Sacred theft today doesn't always look like a lifted purse. It looks like a queer youth reclaiming their name and refusing the one etched into their birth. A cashier overcharging a corporation that underpays them, using the difference to feed their child. A whole list of these. These are not crimes, they're rituals. These are liturgies of resistance that we perform in our temple of necessity. To live with dignity in a world that denies your humanity is, in Laverna's eyes, a sacred act. Theft is the Eucharist of survival. Let this be clear, not all who take are blessed. Laverna does not sanctify cruelty. She does not guide the banker who bleeds the poor, or the politician who cloaks their theft in law. She's not a goddess of corruption, but of reclamation. She watches over those who steal back what was already theirs: peace, time, privacy, breath. She favors the one who unlocks the window to escape, not the one who built the cage. Her theology is not amoral. It's post-moral. It's after morals. It asks, what is survival worth? What does a person deserve when the world says they deserve nothing? And she answers, everything. And that was one of the last things I put in on that night where I rewrote the whole book. It was like, this hasn't been said. It's not clearly been spelled out. Let me be very clear about Laverna here. And I wrote that, and my editor was like, don't write anything after that. There's nothing you could say after that. That's it. That's like, holy fuck. They're like, there's nothing more. That's the end of I'm like, but they're like, anything else you got to say goes before this. This is the last thing. You did it. And so that was a huge part of like that night where I was like, I take my voice back. And it was a very interesting and introspective night because the circles I run in. I know how things can be stolen from people. But I had not, in writing all of this and getting this out, I had accounted for, the stealing of the sacred thief, the stealing from institutions, all these different things that could steal your power, your voice, your breath, your time. But I never personally approached that you can steal your own power. You can steal your own breath from yourself. You can stick yourself in a box and be small and steal who you are from you. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Absolutely not. I am unapologetically me, for better or for worse. Like, I got teeth, I bite. I'm me. And that's not going to be stolen for this book to be palpable. Palpable. There we go. Palatable. Whatever. It wasn't going to happen. And so there was a big moment for me in that, and then just a huge upgrade to the book.
Yeah, they very
Yeah,
important to do so. The poem, everything. Well, it sounded very poetic. I especially liked the Eucharist for survival. That is a very good epithet for such a goddess.
Oh yeah, this is the tone the whole book ended up being wrote in. This very like it's poetic, but it's also urging call to action. Understand, you're not alone. You've got the power. We are here. Call for Laverna. We're not fucking around here. The kid gloves are off. Welcome to Laverna, child.
Well, sadly, my phone battery is at 1%, so I will be dying here soon. But
Yep, mine's at 3, so it's about to jump from 3 to 0 in like a split second.
I see. We'll wrap it up then.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank the 2 or 3 people that came out. Um, I don't know if we'll keep doing this. I think TikTok's just a little more exposure on these.
Most likely, but it's worth doing. We can record these and publish them.
Yeah, I can. I know from when I did ODs that I'm going to get like an email with a link to this thing. I think I can splice it, throw it up on parts up on the YouTube, throw parts up on the TikTok.
Yeah, I think that's very much worth doing. Similar to like the amateur magus and the glass bottle podcast.
Yeah, Glitch Bottle. Yeah. God, I'd love to get on to Glitch Bottle. Hey, Glitch Bottle, if you're watching, I'm free all the time. I
That
mean,
would be
you'll probably never see this, but I'm free.
yeah, that would be very good exposure.
I sit in a weird spot where like I want to be on these podcasts, but it's very ghost to be like, hey, can I be on a podcast? In order to get on podcasts, I need to be invited by them or referred by another person. You can't ask to be on a podcast. And I'm like, if you could, I would in a heartbeat, but that never
I
works.
amateur magicians Discord server. I'll bring you up while he's on VC. Yeah, he's a chill guy. Everyone there is kind of weird though. Very chaos magician juxtaposed, but they're not chaos magicians, but they're clearly influenced by it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is 0% at my phone right there. We gotta wrap this up.
Turtles.
My phone for a bit and then try live on TikTok. End live with yeah, sure. Okay,